Yo, Brenda Hayes was straight up hat in early mornings, but today she was wide awake a whole half hour before her alarm even went off. The sun was blazing through the blinds, macking these crazy patterns on her bedroom wall. The almost 30-year-old stretched out in bed and cracked a smile. In just a few hours, she'd be jetting off towards her dream vacay. 2 weeks chillin' on the Jersey Shore, 2 weeks away from the grind, those endless reports, and those snooze-fest meetings. 2 weeks with the dude she was totally head over heels for. Her suitcase was already good to go, all packed and ready. Yesterday, Brenda hopped out of bed and checked herself out in the mirror. Her hazel eyes were all lit up with this playful sparkle. Long, auburn hair was flowing over her shoulders in these soft waves. She'd hit up a tanning salon to get a little color before the trip, and it made her look even more fly. "You did it, Brenda. Time to get some happiness," she mumbled to her reflection. Her phone buzzed on the nightstand. It was a text from Chad. "Good morning, beautiful. See ya at the airport. Check-ins at 10:30 sharp. Can't wait to get you all to myself." Brenda grinned. Every message from him made her heart skip a beat. Chad Sullivan, the hubby of her boss. Sharon Vance, the dude she was about to spend her dream vacation with. Their thing had kicked off 6 months back at a company party. Sharon was out of town on business, and Chad showed up solo, tall, with these killer blue eyes and a smile that could melt butter. He had Brenda hooked from the jump. She never thought she'd fall for a married dude, especially her boss's man. But after a couple of glasses of bubbly, they started chatting, and Brenda saw he was her soulmate, someone who just got her. "I'm miserable with her," Chad had spilled. "We've been living like strangers for ages. Sharon only cares about work, her career. She ain't got time for me." From that night on, things went wild. Secret meetups after work, sneaky texts, deleting calls from work phones to cover their tracks. Brenda knew she was playing a risky game. At Global Tech Solutions, where she'd been crunching numbers as a financial analyst for 5 years, Sharon Vance was the big boss, her direct supervisor, a total power player, always dressed to kill, who had everyone in awe. Nobody dared to cross her or question her calls. But love hit Brenda hard. When Chad suggested they ditch town together for 2 weeks in Miami, Brenda was all in. They had it all planned out. Sharon was headed to some conference in Vegas. 2 weeks of freedom. 2 weeks when they could be real and not worry about getting busted. Brenda jumped in the shower, threw on a light summer dress, and put on some makeup. She kept it simple, with just some silver earrings Chad had gotten her for her birthday. Checking the clock, she realized she was running late. A cab was already downstairs waiting. The ride to the airport took almost an hour. Rush hour. Traffic was a pain in the neck in the city, but even that couldn't harsh Brenda's mellow. She was feeling happier and more free than ever. The airport was a zoo. Brenda found the right check-in and started looking around for Chad. He wasn't there yet. She glanced at her watch. 10:20 a.m. They still had time. Her phone buzzed again. This time it was a call. "Hello?" Brenda answered, thinking it'd be Chad. "Brenda Hayes," a chick's voice said on the other end. "This is Stacy from Sharon Vance's office." Brenda tensed up. "Not now. Not a call from work right before I'm out of here." "Yeah, I'm listening. Sharon wants me to let you know there are some errors in the Q3 report. She wants you to stick around and double-check all the numbers before you head out on vacation. But my flight leaves in, like, 3 hours," Brenda said, totally thrown. "I'm already at the airport." Sharon said, "It's super urgent. She's counting on you." Brenda felt her stomach do a flip. Classic Sharon, always putting work first and expecting everyone else to do the same. "Tell Sharon I can't make it back. I already paid for this trip, and I'm already checked in for my flight." Total lie. Brenda hadn't checked in yet, but she wasn't about to let work ruin her getaway. "All right, I'll let her know," the assistant said flatly and hung up. Brenda took a deep breath, trying to chill. Nothing was gonna mess up her vacation. Not work, not Sharon. She deserved this. The phone rang again. This time it was Chad. "Hey," she said, trying to sound upbeat and casual. "Brenda, we got a problem." Chad's voice sounded stressed. Sharon unexpectedly canceled her trip to Vegas. She said she found some discrepancies in the reports and wants to handle it herself. Brenda felt like she was gonna pass out. What do you mean she canceled? She's at the office. Yeah, she's there right now. Brenda, I think she's onto us. She was asking some weird questions about my plans for these 2 weeks. And what did you tell her? That I was going fishing with the boys, but she looked like she didn't believe me. Brenda closed her eyes. Everything was falling apart. Their perfect plan. Their long-awaited vacation. What do we do? I don't know. Chad sounded like he was losing it. Maybe we should push the trip back. Brenda's heart sank. We've been waiting forever for this, Chad. Are we really gonna bail at the last second? Brenda, if Sharon finds out about us, I'm screwed. A divorce from her would destroy me financially. Brenda didn't say anything. She knew Sharon was loaded. Most of their stuff was in her name. Chad had said 1,000,000 times he wanted out, but he was too scared of ending up with nothing. Okay, Brenda finally said. But what about me? I'm already here at the airport. Wait for me, Chad replied. I'll come by and we'll talk it over. Give me an hour, maybe an hour and a half at the most. Right now, I gotta smooth things over with Sharon so she doesn't get suspicious. Okay, and wait. Brenda sighed and hung up. She was stuck in the middle of the crazy airport with her suitcase and her dreams crashing down around her. Brenda stepped aside, found an empty seat by the window, and plopped down, watching the planes take off. Every one of them carrying someone's dreams and plans. Her plane was supposed to leave in 3 hours, but now she wasn't sure she'd even be on it. Half an hour went by, but Chad didn't call back. Brenda kept checking her phone, scared she missed something. Nothing. She started getting edgy. What if Sharon really knew? What if they were about to get busted? Brenda was so lost in her head that she didn't notice this older dude stopped next to her. He was rocking some comfy, kinda bohemian travel clothes with this worn leather bag slung over his shoulder and this chill knowing look in his eyes. A beautiful young lady, all alone and stressed, the stranger said in a soft voice, his accent kinda hard to place. Maybe European, or just someone who's been around the block. Brenda looked up. Standing in front of her was this quirky but friendly-looking man. She'd seen her share of characters in airports, but this one was different. I'm waiting for a friend, Brenda said curtly, hoping he'd just leave her alone. A friend? The man smiled, his eyes twinkling. Or a lover? Brenda jumped. How'd this dude know? Excuse me, but I don't want to talk. He cut her off. I get it. You're holding onto a secret. A big secret. He sat down next to Brenda without even a skin. Listen to me, kid. I see trouble in your eyes. Brenda wanted to bolt, but something about what he said made her stay put. What kind of trouble? The man took her hand. His fingers were warm and dry. You're playing around with another woman's man, he said softly. You think you're in love, but he's letting you into a trap. Brenda yanked her hand away. Who are you? Who sent you? The man shook his head. Nobody, sweetheart. I just see things others don't, and I'm seeing danger. What danger? Even though she was skeptical, Brenda felt a shiver run down her spine. Ditch your ticket, the man said firmly. Go back to work and snoop around your office. You'll find some answers there. Brenda felt a lump in her throat. Who are you? How do you know about my work? The man gave her a mysterious smile. I know a lot, sweetheart, but that's not what matters right now. What matters is you gotta go back, or it'll be too late. He stood up and disappeared into the crowd without another word. Brenda sat there, stunned by what just happened. How'd this dude know about her and Chad? And what kind of danger was waiting for her? Her phone buzzed. A text from Chad. Can't make it. Sharon won't let me out of her sight. She's definitely sus. Let's hold off on the trip. Sorry, baby. Brenda read the message over and over, not believing it. Everything was going south, the whole plan. Her dreams. And then she remembered what the man had said. Ditch your ticket, go back to work, and snoop around your office. Could there really be something at the office she needed to know? What if Sharon wasn't just sus, but knew everything? Brenda took a deep breath and made up her mind. She stood up, grabbed her suitcase, and headed for the airport exit. She could cancel the ticket on her phone right now, She needed to find out what was going on. Catching a cab. Brenda gave the driver the address to the business park where Global Tech Solutions was located. The whole way, she couldn't shake this uneasy feeling. The man's words kept replaying in her head like a warning, like a prophecy. When the cab pulled up to the building, Brenda hesitated for a sec. Maybe this was all BS. Maybe she shouldn't trust some random dude at the airport. But her gut was telling her she was doing the right thing. The security guard at the front desk raised his eyebrows when he saw Brenda with her suitcase. "Miss Hayes, aren't you on vacation?" "Forget something," she lied. "Gotta grab some papers." "Oh, I see." The guard nodded. "Go ahead." Brenda took the elevator up to the 12th floor where her office was. It was quiet. It was Friday, and a lot of people had already bailed for the weekend. She was hoping she wouldn't run into Sharon. Explaining why she was suddenly back at the office with her suitcase would be a headache. Her office door was locked. Brenda pulled out her key and locked the door, and froze. At first glance, everything looked normal. Desk by the window, computer, stack of papers she didn't get to before her trip. But something felt off. She could feel it. Cautiously stepping into the office and closing the door behind her, Brenda looked around closer, and then she saw it. In the corner of the ceiling, almost hidden among the vents, was a camera, small and black, pointing right at her workspace. Brenda's heart started pounding. Why was there a camera in her office? And when did it get there? She walked over to her desk and fired up the computer. While it was booting up, Brenda kept searching the office. Under the desk, she found a small device taped in place. A bug? A listening device. "Oh my God," Brenda mumbled, feeling a chill. Someone was watching her, and everything she said, everything she did. The computer loaded a skin for a password. Brenda typed it in with shaky fingers, but it came back as an error. Incorrect password. She tried again, making sure she typed everything right. Same thing. Someone changed my password, Brenda realized. She started to panic. What's going on? Her thoughts were cut off by the sound of the door swinging open. Sharon Vance was standing in the doorway. Tall, slim, with perfect hair and makeup, rocking a killer designer suit. She looked as sharp as always. But in her eyes, Brenda saw something new. Something cold and dangerous. "Brenda," Sharon's voice sounded surprised, but Brenda could tell it was fake. "What a surprise. I thought you were already on the plane." Brenda felt her face get hot. She didn't know what to say. I had to come back. There were some problems with the reports." "Is that so?" Sharon walked into the office and shut the door behind her. "And here I thought it was because of my husband." Brenda froze. Sharon knew. She'd known the whole time. "I don't know what you're talking about." She tried to keep it together. Sharon laughed, but it was an empty laugh. "Give it up, Brenda. I know everything about your affair with Chad. About your little trip to Miami. About all your meetings and pillow talk." She pointed to the camera in the corner. "You think I'm so dumb I wouldn't notice my own husband hooking up with my employee? I've been watching you for months. Every move you made, every word you said." Brenda felt like she was gonna hurl. The whole time, they'd been totally exposed. Everything she and Chad thought was a secret, Sharon knew about. "Why?" Brenda could barely get the word out. "Why?" Sharon walked closer. "You're a skin. Why I was watching the chick sleeping with my husband." "No." Brenda shook her head. "Why'd you let it keep going? Why didn't you fire me right away? Why didn't you confront Chad?" A weird smile creeped across Sharon's face. "Because I wanted you both to go further. I wanted you to feel safe. To think you were being so clever." She paused for effect. "Then, I wanted to destroy both of you." Brenda was paralyzed. She opened her mouth to say something, but couldn't. "You know what's the funniest part?" Sharon went on, passing the office. "You're not the first. Chad's had flings with my employees before, but you turned out to be the most persistent." Brenda felt her stomach churn. Chad had never said anything about other women. He'd told her he'd never cheated on his wife before, that they were special. "I don't believe it," she whispered. "Of course you don't," Sharon sneered. "None of you do, until you get a face full of the truth. You think you're special to him? The only one?" The one he dumped me for and start a new life with? Brenda didn't say anything. That's exactly what she thought. That's what she was hoping for. Poor naive girl. Sharon shook her head. Chad will never leave me. You know why? Because he's a coward. And because without me, he's nothing. She walked over to Brenda's desk and sat on the edge. I made him. When we met, he was a nobody. Some sales guy macking peanuts. I gave him connections, money, status, and he knows it. Brenda felt sick. Could everything Chad had told her be a lie? Were all those promises and plans just a way to get her in the sack? If you knew everything, Brenda said slowly, then why didn't you just fire me? Why plant cameras and bugs in my office? Sharon smiled, and it sent a shiver down Brenda's spine. Because it's not just about your fling with my husband. There's something bigger at stake. She stood up and looked out the window at the city below. Global Tech isn't just a company, Brenda. It's my life. I built it from the ground up, turned it into a leader in the game, and I'm not gonna let anything screw that up. Even if that anything is my own husband. Brenda frowned, not getting what Sharon was driven at. I wasn't trying to mess with your company. I just fell for your husband. Maybe, Sharon cut her off. But you also got your hands on some financial docs you weren't supposed to see. Brenda remembered Chad asking her to check some reports. A few months ago, he said Sharon was swamped and had passed it on to him, but he didn't know jack about finance. Brenda hadn't thought nothing of it at the time. He was the CEO's husband. He had the right to ask for those docs. Those reports? She asked. But there wasn't anything special about him. Just some boring financial summaries. Not exactly. Sharon turned to her. Didn't you notice any discrepancies? Numbers that didn't add up? Brenda tried to remember. The reports were huge. Dozens of pages of tables and charts. She just skimmed them without getting into the details. No, I thought everything was fine. For you, Sharon nodded. Otherwise, we'd be having a very different convo. She stepped closer to Brenda. Listen to me. You're gonna pack up your stuff and walk out of here for good. I won't sue you for stealing company secrets. I won't trash your rep by telling everything about how you were banging your boss's hubby. I'm just gonna let you disappear from my life. Brenda felt the anger boiling inside her. All these threats and mind games. She didn't deserve this. And what if I don't leave? She asked quietly. What if I decide to stay and fight? Sharon laughed, but her eyes were still cold. Fight who? Me? You don't stand a chance, Brenda. I'll crush you like a bug. She pulled out her phone and showed Brenda the screen. It was a video. It showed Brenda and Chad kissing in her office. I got hundreds of these, Sharon said. Every one of your meetups, every chat. I can ruin both of you if I feel like it. Brenda stared at the screen, frozen. They really had been totally screwed this whole time. What about Chad? Brenda asked. Are you gonna cut him out of your life too? Sharon put her phone away. Nah, I'll deal with him different. He'll stick around because without me, he's nothing. She started for the door, but stopped in the doorway. You got an hour to pack up your junk and get out of here. After that, security's gonna be told not to let you back in the building. And don't even think about calling Chad. He won't pick up. Sharon left, leaving Brenda alone in the office that had turned into a surveillance room. Brenda sank into her chair, feeling the tears coming on. Everything had blown up. Her career, her relationship, her dreams for the future, all gone to dust. She grabbed her phone and dialed Chad's number. It rang, but he didn't answer. After 5 rings, it went to voicemail. Brenda didn't leave a message. What could she say? That Sharon knew everything? That their plans were shot? That maybe the whole thing was just another fling for him? Her eyes landed on the computer. The password was changed, but maybe she could hack her way back in. Brenda used to work in IT before moving into finance, and she remembered some old tricks. She pulled a flash drive out of her purse, always kept one on her, just in case. Plug in it into the USB port. Brenda launched a recovery program. A few minutes later, she was looking at her desktop. At least that worked, Brenda thought, checking out the screen. She opened her email, but most of the messages were gone. It looked like Sharon, or someone under her orders, had already wiped her account. Brenda checked the network drives, the same financial reports she'd been crunching numbers on for months. Everything looked normal, but Sharon's words were still stuck in her head. Didn't you see any discrepancies? Numbers that didn't add up? What was she talking about? Brenda opened the folder with the reports Chad had shown her. She started going over every number, every formula in the spreadsheets. And then she saw it. Minor discrepancies in amounts, write-offs that didn't have the right backup, funds being wired to accounts that weren't on the official vendor list. Oh my God, Brenda whispered. This is financial fraud. A voice spoke from behind her. Brenda spun around. Chad was standing in the doorway. He looked beat, his tie was loose, and he had this desperate look on his face. Chad, what's going on? Brenda stood up, not sure if she should be relieved or scared. He stepped into the office and closed the door. Sharon's been washing money through the company, he said softly, walking towards Brenda. I found out by accident about 6 months ago. Brenda felt her head spin. And you didn't call the cops? Didn't go to the IRS? Chad gave a bitter laugh. With what proof? Everything's set up so it points to me. I'm listed as the director of a bunch of shell companies. My name's on most of the paperwork. Sharon planned it all perfectly. If it comes out, I'm the one who's gonna take the fall. Brenda looked at Chad, not believing what she was hearing. Everything was way more messed up and scary than she thought. That's why you had me look at those reports? She asked. You wanted me to find the fraud? Chad nodded. I was hoping your fresh set of eyes would catch something I missed. Some kinda evidence that would point to Sharon, not me. But you didn't see nothing fishy, huh? I wasn't looking, Brenda said softly. I just glanced at the big numbers. Didn't get into the weeds. Chad sighed, then slumped back in a chair across from her. How long has she known about us? Brenda asked, looking up at the hidden camera. Since day one, Chad said. She set the whole thing up. Brenda felt her stomach turn. You're telling me this was all her plan? Chad nodded. Yeah, in the beginning it was. But then I actually fell for you, Brenda. I swear, what we had was real. Brenda shook her head, tears welling up. How can I even believe you now, after all this crap? Chad reached out to touch her, but Brenda pulled away. I get how you feel, he said softly. But right now, we gotta figure out how to get out of this mess. Sharon's a stone cold player. She ain't gonna stop until she's wrecked both of us. Why'd she even start all this? Brenda asked. Why does she need to wash money through the company? Chad responded. Sharon's working for some seriously heavy hitters you don't want to mess with. Global Tech is the perfect front for making dirty money look clean. High volume, tons of overseas deals. A crazy web of cash flow. It's the perfect cover. Brenda remembered how fast the company had blown up in the last few years. How Sharon was always landing new clients and partners. Some of those deals went down faster than lightning, and the terms were out of this world. So, what do we do now? She asked. We can't just take off. She ain't gonna let us. I got a plan, Chad said. But I need your help. He leaned in close, his voice barely a whisper. For the last few months, I've been snagging evidence, copying docs, recording calls, tracking bank transfers, everything that can tie the scam straight to Sharon, not me. But it ain't enough. I need someone with your skills to get into her personal computer. Her computer? Brenda frowned. That's impossible. It's locked down tighter than Fort Knox. Not totally, Chad smiled. I got her passwords, saw her type M in once, but there's that two-step verification thing. And I need someone who can bypass it. Brenda thought it over. Tech-wise, it could be done. She could whip up a script that would grab the authentication code and get them in, but the risk was insane. And how do we even get into her office? Brenda asked. She locks that place down tighter than a drum. I got a spare key, Chad replied. Sharon doesn't know about it. I had it made a while back, just in case. He checked his watch. Sharon's in a meet-in with investors right now. She'll be tied up for at least 2 hours. This is our shot. Brenda hesitated. This sounded like something out of a heist movie, hacking into someone's computer, stealing confidential info. If they got caught, they were looking at hard time. And then what? She asked, Say we get the goods. What then? We hand it all over to the DA and the IRS, Chad replied. Anonymously, of course. Let them deal with Sharon and her buddies. And we get out of Dodge. He took Brenda's hand. We can start over, just like we planned. Brenda looked at him, not sure if she could trust him. After everything she'd found out, trust in Chad was tough. But she didn't have a whole lot of options. Sharon had already canned her, and finding a new gig without a job and a good reference would be next to impossible. Plus, if they didn't shut down this scam, who knew how bad it could get? Okay, she finally said. I'll help you. But after this, we're done. I don't want to see you again. A flicker of something crossed Chad's face, but he nodded. I understand. You got every right to hate me after everything that went down. But right now, we gotta work together. They put together a plan. Brenda would write a program to bypass the two-step verification on Sharon's computer. Chad would sneak her into the CEO's office and keep an eye out to make sure no one bothered them. They'd copy all the necessary files and split without getting spotted. Brenda fired up her laptop and started cranking out code. Even though she'd been crunching numbers for years, she hadn't lost her tech skills. Done, she said. Half an hour later, slapping her laptop shut. Now, we just gotta plug this into her computer and run it. Chad nodded. Then let's roll. The sooner we start, the better our chances of getting it done before Sharon gets back. They left Brenda's office and headed for the elevator. The place was almost deserted, just a few stragglers hanging around on a Friday afternoon. No one even glanced at Brenda and Chad as they walked down the hall. Sharon's office was on the floor above, a huge space with floor-to-ceiling windows looking out over the city. Chad pulled out the key and unlocked the door. Quick, he whispered. Letting Brenda go in first. Sharon's office looked like something out of a magazine. Minimalist furniture, fancy art on the walls, fresh flowers in vases, and not a single piece of paper out of place on the spotless desk. Brenda walked over to the computer and turned it on. While it was loading, she looked around for cameras. If Sharon had bugged Brenda's office, there was gotta be something similar here. Don't sweat it, Chad said, like he could read her mind. There ain't no cameras here. Sharon's too paranoid to let anyone watch her. The computer booted up, a skin. For a password, Chad leaned in and punched in the code. The system took the password, but then asked for a code from the two-step authentication app. Your turn, Chad said, stepping back. Brenda pulled out her flash drive, plugged it into the computer, and fired up her program. The screen flickered for a sec, then the system bypassed the authentication and loaded the desktop. You're a genius, Chad said, grinning. I just know how this stuff works, Brenda replied, her eyes glued to the screen. We ain't got much time. What exactly are we looking for? Docs on offshore companies. Anything related to overseas transfers and Sharon's emails with the people on this list. He pulled a piece of paper out of his pocket and handed it to Brenda. It was a list of names and companies, most of which she'd never heard of. Brenda started. Dig in. She opened folder after folder, checking out files, copying anything that looked important to a hard drive Chad had given her. Look, she said, opening another doc. This is an agreement with some company out of the Caymans. They're supposed to be Provident Consultant Services, but the numbers are insane. Chad came over and looked over her shoulder. Bingo, that's one of the main laundry setups. Money goes to offshore accounts disguised as FEs, and then comes back through other companies as clean profits. Brenda kept copying files. The more she found, the clearer the picture became. Global tech was being used as a front for a massive money laundering operation. Millions of dollars were moving through the company, ending up in offshore accounts, and then combing back through a complex web of transactions. This is nuts, Brenda whispered. How could she pull all this off? Sharon didn't come up with this on her own, Chad replied. She's got some serious heavy hitters back in her, politicians, business tycoons, maybe even some mob bosses. She's just running the show, though she gets her cut. Brenda suddenly noticed a folder with a weird name. Project Phoenix. She opened it and found some files that looked even sketchier. What's this? she asked, showing Chad the screen. He leaned in, looking over the files, and his face went white. "Oh, my God," he whispered. "This is even worse than I thought. She's planning to liquidate the company, drain all the assets, bankrupt Global Tech, and disappear." Brenda asked, feeling a chill inside. Chad opened one of the files. "According to this timeline, everything's gonna be ready in 2 weeks. The money's gonna be moved through shell companies. The docs are gonna be faked, and the blame for the bankruptcy is gonna fall squarely." He stopped. "On me," Chad added. Brenda couldn't believe what she was hearing. "That's why she didn't freak about our thing. That's why she didn't make a scene. She used it as another piece of dirt against you." Chad nodded. "Probably. Just picture it. The CEO's hubby, who's cheating on his wife with an employee, suddenly gets caught up in financial fraud, and the company goes belly up. He's the perfect fall guy." He looked at Brenda. "You're on that list too. They're planning on blaming both of us. Your signature's on a bunch of key financial reports." Brenda remembered all the papers she'd signed in the last few months. She'd never really read 'em that close, trusting Sharon and the legal team. "We gotta copy all this stuff," she said firmly, "and we gotta find her emails. If she was talking about this with anyone else, that's straight up proof." They kept digging. Chad found a folder with Sharon's personal emails and started reading through them while Brenda went over the financial docs. "Got it," Chad said suddenly. "Emails with some dude named Sergey Wolf. He's talking about Project Phoenix and details about moving the assets and how to stick me with the blame." Brenda looked at the screen. The emails were a goldmine. Sharon was laying out the whole scheme to bankrupt the company and move the money around. She was talking specific amounts, accounts, and dates. "This is what we need," Brenda said. "With this we can go to the cops." Chad shook his head. "Hold up. We don't know how deep Sharon's connections go. If there's anyone on her payroll in law enforcement, our statement could just disappear, and we'd be in even deeper trouble. So, what do we do?" Brenda asked. "I know a reporter," Chad replied. "He digs into corruption cases. If we give him copies of everything, he can break the story in a way that can't be ignored." Brenda nodded. That made sense. Go public and not take the risk of going to law enforcement. "Then let's copy everything and get out of here," she said. "Plug in the hard drive into the computer." They went back to copying files. Chad found more info about the shell companies and the network of contacts, while Brenda zeroed in on the exact cash transfers and the Project Phoenix timeline. They worked like a well-oiled machine, their shared goal, drowning out any bad blood or betrayal. The amount of evidence was mind-blowing, painting a clear picture of a high-level criminal operation. Finally, with the hard drive maxed out, Brenda disconnected it. "That's it," she whispered, her voice a mix of tired and fired up. "We got enough to blow this thing wide open." Chad exhaled slowly, like a weight was lifted off his shoulders. "Thank God. Let's bail." They quickly covered their tracks on Sharon's computer, closed all the programs, and shut down the system. Chad locked the office door behind them, and they walked fast to the elevator. As they went down, the silence was heavy, just the hum of the elevator. Brenda looked at Chad. He looked relieved, but still scared of what they'd just found. "What now?" she asked quietly. He looked at her, his eyes meeting hers. "I'm gonna call the reporter now. We'll give him everything." He stopped. "Then we lay low for a while. Let the story break and see how it goes." "Brenda, I know I messed up bad. But what we did just now, we saved ourselves. This is a new start for us and a chance to build something real." Brenda looked at their hands together, then back at his face. She saw pain and want of a new future. She knew their love was fake, but they had a connection and needed to use it to bring justice. "We'll see," she said, her voice soft but firm. "One step at a time, first justice." They left the building and stepped out to the cool New York night. The city lights twinkled around them, but they didn't know the path that waited for them, and if it would be dangerous or not. Their dream trip to the beach was gone, and they needed to see how the truth would come out. They started copying everything. Then Brenda asked, "Are you in your car?" "Yeah, it's in the parking," Chad said. "Who knows if they are watching?" She grabbed her things and the suitcase. They went to the parking. They went down to the underground parking lot and approached Chad's BMW. He opened the trunk to put Brenda's suitcase inside and suddenly froze. "What is it?" Brenda asked, noticing the change in his face. Chad slowly looked up. "We need to get out of here immediately." "Why? What happened?" "The trunk is empty," he said quietly. "My bag of clothes was supposed to be in here. I was going to the airport with you. Remember? I had a bag with my travel stuff." Brenda felt a chill run down her spine. "You think Sharon was here?" Chad nodded. "She knows I'm in the building. She might even know we were in her office." At that moment, they heard the sound of the elevator doors opening. Turning around, they saw Sharon stepping out into the parking lot, accompanied by two large men in dark suits. "Run!" Chad yelled, grabbing Brenda's hand. They dashed towards the parking lot exit, leaving the suitcase by the car. Brenda heard Sharon's shouts behind them and the heavy thud of their pursuers' footsteps. Her heart hammered wildly, blood pounding in her temples. "This way," Chad pulled her towards an emergency staircase. They burst into the stairwell and began to climb rapidly. Sharon's voice drifted up from below, and her companions also entered the stairwell. "Why are we going up?" Brenda gasped, out of breath. "We need to get out onto the street. They'll catch us immediately there," Chad replied. "Security at the entrance. Surveillance cameras. Sharon must have already warned them." They climbed higher and higher, leaping over steps. Brenda felt her lungs burning from lack of air. Her high heels were not made for such a marathon. "Where are we going?" she asked, as they passed the 15th floor. "To the roof," Chad answered. "From there, we can cross to the neighboring building. Different security, different cameras. We'll have a chance to slip away unnoticed." They reached the top floor, and Chad pushed open the door to the roof. The evening air hit their faces. The sun was already setting, painting the city's skyscrapers in golden hues. There, Chad pointed to the edge of the roof, where a narrow bridge connected their building to an adjacent business center. They ran towards the bridge, but suddenly, the roof door opened again, and their pursuers appeared in the doorway. Sharon remained by the entrance while the two men rushed after them. "Faster!" Chad yelled, pushing Brenda towards the bridge. She stepped onto the narrow metal structure and froze. Below was a 15-story drop. One wrong step, and she'd fall to her death. "I can't," Brenda whispered, backing away. "I'm afraid of heights." "Brenda," Chad's voice was desperate. "Please, we have no choice. They're catching up." He was right. The men were already 20 yards away and rapidly closing the distance. Brenda took a deep breath and stepped onto the bridge again. One step, another step. The bridge swayed slightly under her weight. She didn't look down, only forward at the opposite roof, which now seemed like her only salvation. Chad followed closely, constantly looking back. The pursuers reached the bridge, but stopped. It seemed they also weren't keen on risking their lives on the shaky structure. Almost there, Chad encouraged Brenda. "Just a little more." They covered the last few yards and jumped onto the solid surface of the neighboring building's roof. Brenda felt her legs buckle from the terror she just experienced, but Chad supported her. "You did great," he said. "Now, we need to get downstairs and get out of here as fast as possible." They found a stairwell door and went down. Unlike their office building, this business center was practically empty. The workday long over. They walked unhindered to the first floor and exited through a side door onto a quiet street. "What now?" Brenda asked when they were a safe distance from the building. She still couldn't believe what had happened. Just this morning, she was going on her dream vacation, and now she was fleeing from pursuit carrying evidence of financial crimes. "We need to find a safe place," Chad replied. "Sharon won't stop. She has too much at stake." He looked around and waved to a passing taxi. The car stopped, and they quickly got inside. "Where to?" the driver asked. Chad gave an address on the outskirts of the city. "It's my friend's apartment," he explained to Brenda. "He's out of the country right now. We can stay there for a few days. No one will find us." Brenda nodded silently. She felt drained. Too much information. Too many shocks for one day. "What we learned," she said quietly, It's not just financial fraud, is it? It's much more serious. Chad looked out the window at the city rushing past. Yes, he finally replied. Global tech is being used to wash money from illegal operations. Maybe even something worse. Sharon's just one cog in the machine, but a major one. And you knew about this the whole time. Brenda's voice was accusatory. Not everything, Chad said. I started getting a bad feeling about a year ago when I saw some weird stuff in the company's financials, but I didn't have any real proof until 6 months ago. That's when he stopped. That's when our thing started, Brenda finished for him. Sharon put you up to getting close to me so I could find the dirt, didn't she? Chad nodded, looking away. Yeah, that was the plan at first. But then everything changed. I actually fell for you, Brenda, and I thought I could use the situation to get out of this mess, to ditch Sharon and her shady friends. Brenda watched him, torn. Her heart was saying one thing, her brain another. Why didn't you just go to the cops the minute you had something? She asked. I tried, Chad said, laughing, with no humor. I tipped off a detective I thought was straight. A week later, he died in a car crash accident, the papers said. That's when I knew I was dealing with some heavy hitters, and I couldn't just walk in and rat him out. The cab pulled up to a run-down apartment building on the edge of town. Chad paid the driver, and they got out. The apartment's on the 7th floor, he said, as they headed inside. The elevator's out of service, so we gotta take the stairs. They climbed the steps and stopped in front of a plain metal door. Chad pulled out a fistful of keys, picked one, and unlocked the door. The apartment was small but cozy. Simple furniture, not much to look at, but clean and tidy. Make yourselves at home, Chad said, locking the door behind them. There should be some grub in the fridge. My buddy Max asked me to keep an eye on the place while he's gone. Brenda walked into the living room and crashed on the couch. She was totally spent, both physically and mentally. We gotta call your reporter friend, she said. The quicker we get him the evidence, the better. Chad nodded. I'll ring him now. He reached for his phone, then stopped. Nah, not with this thing. Sharon's gotta be tracking every call. Chad popped off the back cover of his phone, pulled out the SIM card, and snapped it in two. Max should have a burner phone around here somewhere. He always keeps one for emergencies. He went into the bedroom and started rummaging through the drawers. Brenda stayed in the living room, trying to sort out everything that had happened. Her whole world had flipped upside down in a single day. Just this morning, she was a successful financial analyst getting ready for a vacation with the man she loved. Now, she was on the run, holding onto evidence of serious crimes, with dangerous people willing to do anything to keep it buried. Found it. Chad came back into the living room with a basic flip phone. Old school, but it works, and ain't nobody gonna trace it. He dialed a number and walked over to the window, talking quietly, but Brenda could still hear him. Victor, it's Chad. Yeah, I know it's late. Listen, I got something. Heavy duty. No, can't talk on the phone. Tomorrow? Okay, let's meet tomorrow. At that coffee shop on Lynn Street. Got it. Yeah, I won't be alone. Thanks. Later, he hung up and turned to Brenda. Meeting set for tomorrow morning. Victor, he's an investigative reporter for a local paper. We give him the goods, and he writes the story. And then what happens to us? Brenda asked. Chad sat down next to her on the couch. Then we go ghost. I got some cash stashed away that Sharon can't touch. We can leave the country, start over somewhere where nobody knows us. Brenda looked up at him. You still think we're gonna be together after all this crap? A flicker of something crossed Chad's face. I know I screwed up. Brenda, I lied to you. I used to. But my feelings for you are the real deal. I honestly love you. Brenda shook her head. I don't know what to believe right now. Everything I thought was real turned out to be a lie. My job, our relationship, even my damn vacation. It was all part of some sick game where I was just a pawn. Chad started to say something, but Brenda held up her hand to stop him. Let's just deal with what's going on now. Hand over the evidence, make sure we're safe, and then we'll figure out what to do next. Together or solo? He nodded, accepting what she said. You're right. Right now, All that matters is staying alive and getting the truth out. We'll deal with the rest later. Brenda got up from the couch. I need to hit the shower and crash. It's been a long freaking day. Chad pointed to a door on the right. The bathroom's that way. I'll see what I can throw together for dinner. Brenda went into the bathroom, locked the door, and leaned back against it. Finally, alone, she let the tears flow. Everything had fallen apart. Her career, her romance, her future plans all gone to hell. But deep down, a little spark of hope glowed. Maybe something new and better could come out of this mess. Maybe through all this drama, she'd find her true self. Brenda splashed some water on her face, washing away the tears and makeup. She stared at her worn-out face in the mirror, but in her eyes, there wasn't any sadness, only courage. I'll make it, she told herself. Whatever happens, I'll be all right. The next day started with the aroma of fresh coffee. She opened her eyes and couldn't remember where she was. A weird room, a strange bed. Then it all came rushing back: the flight, the run-in, Chad's buddy's apartment. Brenda sat up in bed, rubbing her eyes. She still felt drained, even after sleeping for almost 10 hours. Too much stress. She stood up and headed out of the bedroom. Chad was in the kitchen, macking breakfast. "Mornin'," he said, seeing Brenda. "Sleep okay?" "Good enough," she said, sitting down at the table. "What time is it?" 8:30. "We got some time before we meet Victor." Chad put a cup of coffee and a plate of scrambled eggs in front of her. "Eat up. You need some fuel." Brenda nodded and started to eat. She was starving. Yesterday, she'd passed on dinner, saying she just wanted to sleep. "Do we have a game plan?" she asked, sipping her coffee. "What's next after we meet the reporter?" Chad sat down across from her, holding his coffee. "I've been thinking about it all night. We gotta disappear for a while. I got some connects overseas who can help us. But first, we gotta get out of town without getting noticed. Airports and train stations are probably being watched," Brenda said. "Sharon knows our passport details. She can track any flight we book." Chad nodded. "That's right. That's why we're driven. Max has an old beat-up car in the garage. Ain't nobody gonna look for us in that ride." Brenda thought it over. The plan sounded risky, but they didn't seem to have any other options. "What about the evidence?" she asked. "The hard drive? It's right here with me." Chad patted his chest pocket. "I ain't letting it out of my sight for a second." They finished breakfast and started getting ready. Brenda changed into some clothes she found in the closet, belonging to Max's girlfriend. The jeans were a little too big, and the t-shirt was kinda loud, but she didn't have a choice. Her own clothes, that fancy vacation dress, would make her stick out like a sore thumb. At 9:30 a.m., they left the apartment. Chad was wired, checking everything. They went down to the underground garage where the beat-up car was. "Here's our ride," Chad said, opening the door with the key. "Ain't no Ferrari, but it'll do the job." They jumped in the car and headed out of the garage. They had to drive across town to get to the coffee shop where they were meeting the reporter. "You think Sharon's already called the cops?" Brenda asked, looking out the window at the buildings flashing by. "Doubt it," Chad said, watching the road. "Too risky for her. Cops would start asking questions, digging around. She's probably using her connections to find us on the hush." Brenda shivered, trying to picture what kinda connections Sharon had. The people behind her definitely weren't afraid to play dirty. They pulled up to the coffee shop 10 minutes early. It was a small place in an old part of town, way off the beaten path. Perfect spot for a secret meeting. "Wait here," Chad said, pulling the car into a side street behind the shop. "I'll see if Victor's there." He got out of the car and walked toward the entrance. Brenda sat in the car, tapping her fingers on her knee. A million thoughts raced through her mind. What if the meeting was a setup? What if Victor was on Sharon's payroll? What if? Her thoughts were cut off by Chad, who showed up 5 minutes later. "Victor's inside," he said. "Everything's clear. No suspicious characters. Let's go." They walked into the coffee shop together. It was pretty empty. Just a couple old dudes playing chess in the corner, a girl with a laptop by the window, and a guy sitting at a table in the back. He raised his hand to let them know who he was. That's Victor, Chad whispered to Brenda, and they walked over to the table. Victor turned out to be a tough-looking dude in his 40s, with sharp eyes and a head of gray and black hair. He stood up and shook hands with Chad, then with Brenda. "Good to meet you," he said, giving Brenda's hand a shake. They sat down at the table. Victor seemed calm, but there was a tension in his eyes. "So," he said, lower in his voice, "Chad told me you had some kind of story?" Chad nodded and pulled the hard drive out of his pocket. "This has got everything: financial scam at Global Tech, money laundering, forged docs, the whole 9 yards. "Whoa," Victor replied. "Do you have all the data to prove it?" "All on there," Chad replied, as he gave him the flash drive with the data inside his coat. Then he said, "I'll check all of it and then give you an update." "We don't have several days for this," Brenda responded. "We are being hunted right now, and as soon as that Sharon finds out that we gave you all of that information, she will kill us." "I understand. Just give me some time to verify the data from other sources." "How long?" Brenda asked. He needed around 2 or 3 days. They glanced at each other. "It was too much. I know a cabin upstate, quiet and safe. No one is there," Victor said. "How do we get there?" Victor grabbed a notebook and started writing an address, and gave a quick map to arrive. "I can't go with you. I'm exposed. As soon as she sees me helping you, she will get to me, and the story won't be up." "Thank you, Victor." They thanked him and left the cafeteria, full of thoughts. "That traveler from the airport," Brenda started talking. "How did he know so much?" Chad frowned and wanted her to tell the story. "If it wasn't for him, we would be flying to Miami." Chad looked surprised. "We don't know how he would know. Maybe destiny. Or maybe someone really wanted to warn you because they knew about Sharon's plans," Chad said. They kept driving in silence. After 2 hours, they were in front of the cabin. "So, now what?" Brenda asked. "What now?" Chad asked, looking at Brenda. She was thinking. Everything that had happened in the last few days had totally changed her life. Her job at Global Tech was history. Her thing with Chad, that was a whole different can of worms. "I don't know," Brenda said. "I need some time to take it all in, to figure out what's next." Chad nodded, understanding where she was coming from. "I got an idea," he said. "Let's just get something to eat. I'm starving. And I'm guessing you are too." Brenda smiled. "Just need something small and to chill for a bit. Not long-term plans and decisions. Just a quick break." "Sounds good." They went to a nearby diner that Chad knew, and the owner knew him. After having a good breakfast, Chad said, "There is something you must know." "Here we go," Brenda thought. "Do you remember that traveler that said everything you were going to do?" "Well, I hired him," Chad admitted. "I already knew the plans from Sharon." Brenda looked at him, not believing what she was hearing. You set up that whole fortune teller thing?" Chad nodded. "I was scared for you, Brenda. I was afraid Sharon would use you and set you up. She'd done it before with other broads." "So, it's true?" Brenda asked softly. "What she said about your past hookups with other employees?" Chad looked down. "There was one girl 2 years ago, Sharon's secretary, but I wasn't really messing with her. She came to me saying she'd found some shady stuff on Sharon's computer. A week later, she got canned for being useless, and a month after that, she was in a car crash. Since then, figured Sharon was mixed up in something bad." Brenda didn't say nothing, just trying to take it all in. This explained why Chad was so freaked out, why he wanted to keep everything on the DL, and why he was so scared to go against Sharon. She finally asked, "Was that part of the plan too?" Chad shook his head. "Nah, I really fell for you, Brenda. Yeah, I got close to you to see if you knew anything about Sharon's schemes, but after that, it was all real. I swear." Brenda looked into his eyes, trying to figure out if he was being straight with her. He seemed legit, but hadn't he seemed just as legit when he was telling her he loved her before? When he was planning their vacation? When he was talking about their future? "I don't know what to say," she said. "Too much has happened. Too much. Lying and backstabbing." "I get it," Chad said. "And I ain't asking you to make up your mind right now. Just give us a chance. A chance to start over with no more lies." Brenda thought about it. Could it work? Could she just leave the past behind and start fresh? I need some time, she said. Time to sort out what I want out of life from us. Chad nodded, understanding. Of course, I'll wait as long as it takes. They left the diner and stood on the sidewalk. Evening was coming on, and the city lights were twinkling. Where to now? Chad asked. You got a place to crash? Brenda thought about it. Her apartment? Sharon's people had probably already trashed it. Going back there now was a bad idea. I dunno, she said. I get it, Chad said. Listen, I got a suggestion. I got a small apartment across town. Sharon doesn't know about it. I bought it a year ago with cash she couldn't touch. You can stay there until you figure out what you wanna do. I'll grab a hotel room or bunk with some friends. No biggie. Brenda hesitated. Taking his help meant depending on him again. But on the other hand, she really needed a safe place to chill for a while. Okay, she finally said, but just for now, until I find something else. Chad nodded, looking relieved. Of course, it's just a temp thing. He hailed a cab, and they headed across town to a quiet area on the edge of the city. Chad's apartment was small but cozy, one bedroom, modern furniture, and everything she'd need. Make yourself at home, he said, handing her the keys. There should be some food in the fridge. I hit up the store last week. I'm gonna go find a place to crash. Brenda took the keys, feeling kinda grateful and kinda awkward. Thanks, she said, for everything. And I'm sorry I didn't trust you. Chad smiled. Don't sweat it. You had every right. I'm gonna give you some time to sort things out, and then we'll see what happens. He left, and Brenda was alone in the strange apartment. She took a shower, found one of Chad's t-shirts in the closet to use as a nightgown, and crawled into bed. For the first time in days, she felt safe and relaxed. As she drifted off, Brenda thought about the future, about what was next after all this craziness, about whether she could build trust and start over with Chad or not. 3 months went by. Life slowly started to get back to normal, but nothing was ever gonna be the same. Global Tech was under new management. Most of the big shots got canned, and some got arrested as Sharon's partners in crime. The regular employees kept their jobs, but the company was never gonna be what it was. Sharon Vance's case was big news. She was brought back from out of the country and was waiting for her trial in jail. A bunch of politicians and business guys were also under investigation. The money washing scheme they'd built was way bigger than anyone imagined.